Right, good evening folks. I'm at one of my favourite spots on this part of Scotland. I come here virtually every year. Whenever I'm here, this is one of the places I always make a point of coming to. It is Tioram Castle, or often referred to as Castle Tioram. I'm not sure which is correct. So if you do know whether it's Castle Tioram or Tioram Castle, please let me know in the comments. I've got some images I'm quite proud of from here. Images I'm happy with, some I've printed off. So it's a bit of a banker of a location. Get here at sunset and you're pretty much guaranteed to get something that's worthwhile. So without further ado, I'll just turn around. That's the sort of sunset we're getting. So I'm going to have to work pretty quickly. But you've got the castle in the foreground. I usually I'm a bit lazy and photograph from back there behind me. So tonight, just to mix things up a little bit, I'm just coming a little bit down the coastline to try and get a slightly different angle. And the other thing that's changed is that the tide's in. The last few times I've been, the tide's been out, so there's been a lot of detritus and what have you. We're now at high tide, and apparently at this time it's quite a high tide the last couple of days, so I'm hoping I might get something worthwhile, certainly something a little bit different. But stick with me and we'll see what we do. Before I do, I'm just going to quickly show you a house that I think's absolutely splendid. Can you imagine just living in there? What a fantastic place that is. When you turn around, and that's your view every night. That is fantastic. Anyway, moving on down to where I'm going to set up composition and see if I can get something a little bit different this time. So stick with me. So first composition of the night, I've moved a little bit close to the castle. From head high you can just see the top of the ramparts at the top, but by shooting from lower down I'm hoping I can see them a little bit more. So the outline of the castle actually changes the silhouette of the landscape. I'm also hoping that the clouds on this left hand side help balance out the hill on the right. But that's the first one, so it's take another one just to be. And the only bit of blown highlights we've got is the centre of the sun, which I don't think we can do anything about. So far that's not bad first shot in the bag. I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to move around. The light's constantly changing. So what I've done is I've just moved a little bit closer to the castle this time, and I'm doing a series of bracketed exposures just in case I want to pull out any of the detail of this castle. But as you look at it, you can see it is in silhouette, and even if I try and focus on that, it's still a silhouette and it's still going to be quite dark, so I'm not going to be able to pull out all the detail. But look at the sky, it's absolutely fantastic. So what I've done composition wise is I've set the camera very low down. If I kneel down here at the side, you can see I've literally sprayed the legs of the tripod and I've set it up so that I've got the seat at the bottom third, and I'm just going to keep slowing this exposure down. Can I accept that I get what I get? And that sun's just gone down at the back of the headland there, and I suspect once it drops below the horizon we're going to get some really nice rays coming up. I'm just getting us ready for that. And if we look at there, we go back into play mode, scroll down, we've got a really nice even histogram across the board, and I'm just going to change the composition up slightly. One of the things I make a bit of a thing for is level. I always end up with the camera slightly out of level, so I'm just going to make sure. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to try and keep the sea on the bottom third. I'm going to put the castle in line with the third vertical line. Just check the levels all right, and we'll go again. And again, 8 histogram's nice. I'm not sure what's going to happen sky-wise. This sky's either going to absolutely erupt or just this is probably going to be as good as it gets. It's hard to tell on this west coast because you get these gaps in the sky, gaps in the cloud should I say, whereby the sun just seems to come through and really come to life. Now what I might be tempted to do, just for a bit of variety, I'm just going to change this composition up slightly. And I'll take one like this. And just see how that comes out. So I've just moved around and I've just put I'm still keeping it on the bottom third. I'm just going to move around slightly. In fact, we have the castle in the middle. There's a V in the mountain range there. Some lovely colours coming in behind it. And the gap in between the headlands there is to the left-hand third. The water's got a little bit of a ripple to it, so it's not reflecting the colours brilliantly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on the sky and just use the sky as the main dominant subject rather than the water, because there's nothing going to be reflected colour-wise on there, I don't think. Not a great deal anyway. But there's some bands of weather moving across the horizon, and it's giving us some quite unique effects. But I'm just going to move on over to the right and just see if by changing the composition up at all it works. Even if I'm too late with the weather this time, the sky this time, it's something I know for future reference that the composition works better. That's the thing to do. It's a little bit like if you find yourself somewhere where the light's not brilliant in the middle of the day, work on your compositions and you know what will work for next time. Now, so by moving around to the right, the castle's now more silhouetted above the tree line, so it's isolated a little bit better. Now that the sun's dropped below the horizon, I'm not going to get any more of the sun. I might just get some colours in the sky, but in relation to where the sun is, I don't think that's that important. So I'm just going to set up a composition here. That big body of cloud in the middle might just stop it from working. If that wasn't there, we would get some colour on it. It might work, it might work fantastically, but we'll try. We'll see what we get. I'm going to zoom into 50mm on this one, I think. Just make sure we're level. Nearly. I'm going to probably back out to 35. 35, and I'm going to shoot more out towards the opposite headland, so the other side of the channel, just to see what happens there. And there's nothing worth focusing on the foreground, so I'm just going to focus on the horizon. Just going to focus on the castle itself, because it's that silhouette that's going to be the main focus of the image, that and the sky. So we need to make sure that there's sharp contrast between that silhouette. Just going to slow it down, 13th of a second, f11. We could get away with a slower aperture, with a wider aperture now. I quite like that. So I've got a little bit of a smooth area in front of the image. That with the ripples going out where the wind is. And as I say, I've got the castle on the right hand third. The waterline is pretty much on the bottom third, and leaving plenty, 2/3 of the image for the silhouette and the sky. So we'll just see what happens colour wise, see if it comes to life. It's a little bit of a waiting game. It's either going to really come good or we're going to end up calling it a draw. So one of the things I've just done whilst I'm waiting to see if the colour comes in the sky is I've just moved a little bit further around the headland, and what I might do just to vary things up a little bit is use a little bit of the grass shoreline that we've got here just as it acts as a bit of a leading line. I don't think I'm going to get any fantastic colours in that sky behind that big body of cloud, so I'm just going to move the composition, move it back a little bit further and just see if See if that gives me something different that works a little bit better. So what I've done is I've moved back a little bit, like I said I would, and I've just incorporated a little bit of the shoreline into the bottom left hand corner of the image. I don't know whether it works or not. The shoreline, there's a little bit of grass, it's a little bit untidy. It might work, I'll have a look at it. I might find that I prefer the one with just a clean the clean water line. Now that big body of cloud is starting to move over to the right, so all's not lost yet. We might end up with something that just comes to life. We'll have to see. The things I'm mindful of as well is the height that I'm stood here. Again, I've said this a few times this week. My height in relation to, I always tend to get down low because to give a different perspective. I'm tempted to actually just bring the tripod up a little bit and just see if I can get a little bit more separation between this headland here and the far headland there. And I think if I elevate the camera like that, you can just see the distance, it'll add a little bit of depth to it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll take one more shot like this as the cloud's moving off, and then I'll move the tripod a little bit higher, move the camera a little bit higher so that we see if we get some depth into it. So, looking at the back of the camera, you can see what a difference that slight change of angle's made. You can see now you've got a little bit of separation between the headland in the distance and the edge of the island, or where the castle's based. I'm still not convinced about this sky, whether it's suddenly going to erupt as that big dark cloud blows over. I don't know if that's going to erupt behind it or not. You get some phenomenal sunsets on this part of the west coast. There's a lot of different weather patterns and wind currents going up. You've got the hills, the mountains behind it that just seems to disrupt things a little bit. And within the space of 5-10 minutes travel, you can be from torrential rain to glorious sunshine. It's that unique. But I do quite like this composition. And I suspect it might be one I'll use again. Now, one thing I have noticed a lot this last week or so, and I've probably been doing it all along, but I've only just noticed it really, is that when I'm focusing using the zoom on the camera lens, I've instinctively been stopping at the sort of the marks. This is a 24 to 85. So it's either been at 24, 35, 50 or 70. Most of the time it's been between 50 and 35. Almost to the point where I think a lot of the shots I've taken, vast majority have probably been shot at 35mm. So now there's a little bit of colour coming up in the sky. I can just see a little bit of colour coming in that cloud that sits above the, shall we call it, the blob that's moving off to the right. So all's not lost yet. They could still end up with a nice little bit of colour there. Or maybe I'm just being optimistic. So just whilst I'm looking to see if anything's going to happen colour wise, I've just changed the composition up slightly. I've zoomed into 70mm. Just got a tighter crop of the castle. And we've still got that little bit of separation between the two. I'm just going to lift the camera up on the stock. It's not something I do often, but at the moment this camera's sat at chest high for me, and as I might have said previously, I'm 6'2", so I'm used to seeing the world at about 5'10" eye line. So I'm just going to lift the tripod up and just see if lifting it up slightly gives me a little bit more separation and maybe a little bit more reflection in the water. So I think that's probably going to be the last of the light. I don't think we're going to get an eruption of colour like I was hoping for, but I've always been a little bit optimistic. Lifting the camera up, it hasn't changed things a great deal. But this blue hour tones, I do quite like it. yeah, it's producing a nice feel to the image. I quite like the elevated position. One of the advantages of something like the D750 that I'm using is the flip out screen. It articulates down, so if I put the camera up so it's above my eye level, I just tilt the screen back slightly so I can look up at it that way. I'm not a big fan of the flip out screens that come out to the side. They just seem like they could be prone to breaking if you're as heavy handed as me. But I do like the flip out screen, and likewise when I go down low I like to be able to just flip it up and look down at it and use it almost like a waist level viewfinder. So I'll show you what I've got in the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. And we've got the foreground coming in from the bottom right hand corner, and we've got the island there, the peninsula there. I'll just knock the level off and you get a clearer image of what we're looking at. So we've got the silhouette of the sky, and we've got that second headland, and there is that separation of distance between the two. Just going to take another shot. I'll be honest, the image I'm seeing on the back of the screen is different to what I'm seeing on the camera that I'm filming with. So when you do see the image, don't think for a moment I've jiggered about with it too much in post. But yeah, there we go. That's quite a nice blow-hour shot, really. And as the light's fading, I'm just slowing it down slightly. So I'm on half a second now, ISO 100, f11. So I'm just going to, because I can, I'm just going to move it up to f16 and slow it down to get a second exposure. See what happens there. Yeah, I think as a silhouette image that's going to work. So I think I'm going to call it a wrap on that. It's a great place. If you are up in this part of Scotland, then you've got to give it a whirl, got to give it a visit, and especially around sunset times. So long as it's not grey and overcast, you're guaranteed to get some really good shots that you're going to be happy with. And yeah, what I'll do is I'll share with you some of the images I've taken over the last few years. Let me know which is your favourite. Well folks, if you've made it this far into the video and you've enjoyed it and you've enjoyed seeing the images I've created, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can click the notification bell and be notified of when I upload another video. And if you've really enjoyed it, hit the like button. It helps me out and it don't cost you anything. It's free. We like free in Yorkshire. We even like free in Scotland. So until next time, I will see you again. Thanks for watching.